IDXG today. I want to go over IDXG, talk about what made IDXG pop off the way it did, and I want you guys to understand exactly why it ran and the credibility behind why it ran as well. Understanding why the stock spiked, understanding why the spike ran is going to help you in the future, catch plays just like this. It also makes you more confident. So not only are you getting an education, you're going to be getting more confident in your trading as well. So IDXG, massive, massive run today. Start of 2017. Today is the first trading session of 2017. And so far you can see IDXG up 161% on the day, which is massive. Again, this stock opened up IDXG, it opened up this morning at 524, which was way back here at 524, way back all the way at this line. And I want to go over from scratch about why IDXG popped off the way it did, and let's get into it. So a lot of people don't understand that a lot of stocks run for certain reasons, and this is what I really want to go over, because again, we trade a penny stock world. It's a very sketchy world sometimes, guys, and a lot of people say, oh, you know what, this is a pump and dump, and a lot of times, there could be pump and dumps where stocks go up and then they come right back down. In IDXG's case, this was not a pump and dump. Now, how do you tell the difference? Because again, we've gone over this in different lessons, guys, talking about the credibility behind it. Now, if a stock is credible, that means it's going to rip and volume is going to come through. It also, different indicators can help a stock run a lot more also. So what do we have, guys? If we're looking at IDXG was up very high in pre-market this morning from its previous day. Its previous day was all the way at 430. We had a nice gap up towards around $5 this morning, or up to 525, I should say, as that is where the stock opened. So 430 up towards around that $5 mark, around 70 cents. Pretty solid gap up right there. So right when we saw that on the pre-market scanners, guys, what did we look at? Well, immediately we have to go to yahoofinance.com, look at IDXG, and all you guys have to do is look at the summary. Don't mean to cover up the scanners right here. I just like to show you guys this example. We have IDXG. 3 hours ago, it announces agreement with Blue Cross Blue Shield Center for Clinical Effectiveness to support enhanced coverage. Right here, 3 hours ago. Now, a lot of you people say, hey, how do you catch that so early? Because again, we caught that right at the start of the day. One of our best things that we have is our news streamer. And again, our news streamer is a top-of-the-line streaming system that we have, and we find all the hottest stocks, right as they come out, right when these stocks move. Again, basically, this is our news streamer. We always go on NASDAQ, stock types. We go with regular securities. News types, of course, we want news. Filters, what we personally look for here, 25 cents to $25. We'll filter that right away. And then we do search by keywords. We have in the notepad, the bottom left-hand corner, guys, we have all these keywords we really like to look for, all these hot keywords that bring in a lot of attention and a lot of big-time hype. Now, what was that keyword that got brought in today from IDXG? That keyword today, I believe, was agreement. So if we just put the word agreement, and again, every single morning I put all 29 words in. I put all 29 words in to see, which ones come up, because again, there's words like agreement, positive, all these different hot stocks, positive, merger, and you could see IDXG right here. IDXG came out with a great press release right there. Came out at 8 a.m. with 21 seconds. This is how accurate it is, guys. The moment that company puts it online, the moment that company puts it on the internet, it comes out immediately, right on our news scanner, so we have it right away. So there's a couple different ways to play the stock. IDXG, there's the keyword agreement, came out at 8 a.m. We saw this, we recognize this. A lot of traders bought in on pre-market when it was all the way down towards this area of $4 right at 8 a.m. this morning, 439. It went all the way up to highs up towards 560. Even if you grab 1,000 shares right there, you're making over $1,000, within the first 20 minutes of pre-market, and then on top of that, the stock went on a massive rip, so you could have been banking so much as well. But IDXG, you always want to look at Yahoo Finance, and on top of that, if you guys have streaming news like we do, and again, we stream these to you guys every single day. We open up our chat rooms every single morning at around 7:45 now to catch these 8 a.m.s, these 8:30s, these 9 o'clocks, and we also have our special keywords. We have 29 of them that we put in that catches all the hottest news for us. us that we never miss a play. And this is why we never miss a play, guys, because we're prepared, we're ready, and we have top of the line scanners, trade ideas, and we also have our new scanners as well, which help us catch every single play. So which I'm very excited about. So what we have also, guys, is IDXG. So IDXG, what are some of the other great factors behind that press release? What I always talk about, guys, what do I always say? I always say you want to look at to see if a stock has a press release, and you also want to look at the chart pattern. Well, now looking at the chart pattern, we have a very credible press release. So now let's look at the chart pattern. Well, we had a massive rip. Now this massive rip is huge, guys. This massive rip is a dead giveaway that this stock could be bringing in some massive activity this morning. Now, why is that? Because IDXG, seeing this past a rip, this is huge. Now, a lot of traders are saying, why is this huge? Because it shows the stock has big time potential, big time spiking potential. And when a stock has spiked in the past, it will spike again in the future. Look at some of the biggest spiking stocks, guys. GBR, 195 all the way up to $6. You know, we could see 84 cents all the way up to 416. $1 all the way up towards 332. If we look at HMNY, one of the best spiking stocks in the market, you could see, you know, $6 all the way up to 13. You could see $8 all the way up to 16. You could see $1 all the way up to 17. BSPM, a big time spiker, $3 all the way up to $7, $1 all the way up towards $6. You know, these are big time spiking stocks, and a stock that has spiked in the past will spike again in the future. That carries over on the same exact thing like IDXG, guys. We see the stock has spiked in the past, so it's going to spike again in the present. This gets traders a lot more excited. Now, if we saw a stock, you know, for instance, that kind of just looked flatline like this, and a good press release came out, the stock really wouldn't move too much, even if a good press release did come out, because the overall fact that this stock is not a great past chart history pattern of ripping. That does not get traders excited. Seeing this in the past gets traders excited, because traders say, hey, you know what? This stock has gone from $1 up to $20 in the past. Hey, let's see if it can do that again. A stock that has never moved a spike before won't get traders excited, because they're not going to think it could spike. Again, I'm a big psychological type of guy when it comes down to understanding the market. I like thinking how other traders are going to think and be one step ahead of them. And that's extremely important in my trading, guys, to see where are traders going to think is going to have the nice big rip. Where are other traders going to think the stocks are going to spike at? Where is the mob? You know, that 90% of people that are just going to follow the activity, where are they going to be buying? And let me be in before them. So IDXG, some very nice plays right here. What else about IDXG do I absolutely love? And again, what we have here is this 7 million in float, guys. The float per shares right here is 7 million. The float, guys, what is that? That is the float, is the shares offered to the public. Shares offered to the public. The lower the supply and the higher demand, that is when we get nice big rips. So a lot of people, again, I remember starting off, I was like, what's a nice low float do I want to look for? Is a low float, you know, 1,000, or is a low float, you know, 10 million? I don't know. So what a low float is, again, anything below 1 million is very, very low. As you guys can see, we have these. You know, we have these in a different color. You know, what we have is dark blue. So again, lower the float, the darker the blue it will be. So we have 2 million, then 6 million, then 7 million, and these are in, you know, a bluer shade. Then it starts going white, and then we start going purple. Again, the purple ones are ones that come up as top gainers that I really don't focus on too much, to be honest, because I focus on these stocks, the stocks with rather low floats, the 7 million, the 6 million, the 2 million, because the stocks with the lower floats are the ones that are going to have nice spikes. Again, I'm just clicking DELT. DELT, 2 million in float. Guess what? This stock's going to have a nice spiking history. LEDS, this stock's coming up on the high of the day momentum scanner. I can guarantee you this stock is going to have a nice spiking history in the past. So LEDS, here we go, right here, $1 all the way up to $11. But at the same time, you know, I could look at this SYNN, 90 million in float, and we could look back, you know, there's not really any sort of massive spike that, you know, here's a nice climb for sure, but our biggest day, I'm seeing biggest day, let's look right here, 130 up towards 158. 29 cents, I don't care about that. 29 cents, I don't care about that. But LEDS, if LEDS came out with a good press release, I see the stock has gone from, $3.20 gapping up to $5 to ripping all the way up to $11. That gets me excited. And just like that's going to get other traders excited as well. So, IDXG, the nice little float, the great past chart history of spiking, the press release, and on top of that, what else do we have, guys? Again, it's more than meets the eye. There's a lot of things you got to look at when looking at these chart patterns. So what else do we have, guys? Well, where did the stock bounce at? That's a very important thing. Well, this stock just came down towards 430. So I see this, and you know what else I see at the same time? I see that's kind of near this bottom type of candle. And I also see that this is near the top of this upper shadow. So we can kind of go back and see, if this is a nice support line. And we could see, if we follow this orange resistance line, this stock has had some trouble on this resistance mark right here. So, that resistance is going to be holding up as some sort of support. Old resistance will hold up as new support, just like new support will hold up as new resistance. Some nice resistance around this area. Old resistance is going to hold up as new support. One of the best examples I can show you guys of this is BSPM. Hopefully, let me scroll back far enough. BSPM, if I look, back at this area, I could see that there's obviously resistance. There's obviously resistance right here, guys, as the stock came up, hit it, came back down, hit this level again, came back on down. But when BSPM broke that this orange resistance line right around this $3 mark where this stock couldn't break before, that's when we had a nice big climb, a nice big rip, and look where it bounced at. It bounced at $3 because that old resistance holds up as new support, and that's where it bounced, got a nice climb all the way up to $6, came back down, bounced at $3, made a nice climb all the way on up. So make sure you guys always keep that in mind. So when we're looking at stocks like IDXG, this stock bounced at this area because it was old resistance, just like what I showed you guys on BSPM. Very easy stuff, but it all gets back down in the technical analysis and looking at the chart and just understanding it. Again, there's more that meets the eye, and you got to think about chart patterns, you got to think about news, and you got to think about psychological play about what traders are going to be doing. So IDXG today, guys, let's break this down. Let's talk about what happened today on IDXG. Again, we've had about how many alerts? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different alerts on IDXG today, guys. 5 different alerts on IDXG today, and the stock has just been absolutely monstrous. So what we have the stock opening up at 525. So 525 is where the stock opened up, immediately dropped back down towards $5 support. Very simple stuff, nothing too crazy. Opened up at 525, came back down to $5 support. $5 support's a very strong whole number, should hold up as support, which it did. Now we start making our U-shaped breakout pattern. Also, when the stock just opened up like this is what we like to call our red to green pattern. Now, a lot of people are saying red to green, what do you mean by that? Because it gapped up in pre-market. I like to just think of, if the stock opened up, this is, 0% right here at 525. It went underneath its open, it made a U-shaped pattern, and when it breaks back above that open, that is basically the stock going red to green. The stock is now above its opening resistance. Where do we buy stocks, guys? We buy stocks at the break of resistance lines because this is where volume is going to come in. This is when the stock's going to get hot, and this is when things are going to lift on off. So what we have here is IDXG. We have the stock fading a little bit, and now it breaks that 525. When it breaks 525, that's when resistance, or that's when volume comes in, because people say, hey, you know what? We are now green on the day. We are now breaking this open resistance, and now this is where buying volume is going to come in. We talked about triangles. We talked about bull flags. We talked about U-shaped patterns, guys. And how when we have this U-shaped pattern, especially red to green moves, these are some of the most predictable, easiest plays to look for. So IDXG started moving on up, started ripping on up, got a lot of big hype, a lot of big hype. You could see the volume coming in, very quickly. Our first alert on the day was IDXG at 550. That was our first alert on the day. IDXG right at this 550 mark. Because of the fact of how fast IDXG was bringing in volume, the low float, the press release, the massive spiking in the past. We talked about IDXG, all about this potential in pre-market for you guys as well. And right when we saw IDXG picking up volume, that's when we automatically knew, okay, you know what? It's 2017. Traders looking to trade today. This is going to be the stock that all attention is turning towards. So 525 was our first buy alert. Now it starts moving on up. $6 hits, guys. $6 hits. Notice how the stock starts having not full candles, but starts hitting some resistance. Now, why is this? $6 is a natural whole number. Every whole number, guys, is going to hold up as some sort of resistance line. As you can see, they're not really very strong candles. The stock is really jumbling around. We were looking for a bounce play back down towards 565. Right when we're about to do that, that's when it started ripping. Started moving on up through $6. Next buy alert, guys, where was that? Next buy alert was at 625. Next buy alert was at 625. The stock ripped all the way up towards around 660, had a pullback, basically, if you want to think about it, another U-shaped breakout pattern as we have a nice run, and then we had the nice U-shape break of the high of the day, resistance. Where do we buy stocks? At the break of resistance. Why is this? Because this is where volume moves in. This is where activity comes in. You see the volume pushing on up, and this is where the stock starts moving. We come on up towards around $7. Now $7. Why did we have this doji star right here? Why did we have it at $6? It's a natural hold number. Stocks, people are selling at this area because they know that this is where other traders are going to be selling. Psychological play. But this stock is a low float. The stock has a massive rip, and this stock is going to continue to move on up. We get a nice big pop. We start moving on up on this play. Starts climbing, starts moving on up. Then we get this halt. We get the halt, and the stock has its first nice big climb. Starts moving back on down. We have a buy alert at 8:15 on IDXG. Our third buy alert on IDXG at this 8:15 mark. As you guys can see on the alert box, it starts moving on up. Where did the stock start getting very unpredictable? All this is very unpredictable. Where did this stock start getting unpredictable? The stock started getting unpredictable at this area. I will show you guys exactly where. Let me get rid of this. Stock started getting unpredictable right here. Right after this candle, this is where the stock started getting unpredictable. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. Then here, this is where a lot of money can be made for this nice $2 run. But why does it get a lot more unpredictable? For the pure fact that this stock is now getting off its trend line. The trend line is a very easy tool. It rides the trend line. It's going to be very simple, very easy to play. But the pure fact is, when the stock starts getting off its trend line, it's going to eventually come back down to its trend line. As you can see, if I carry this out right here, we had a nice climb on off, and then it came all the way back on down. Right here, this is where it started getting halted, gap up, massive rip, gap up, halted, rip, and then started coming back on down. And again, when a stock starts getting off its trend line, that's when a stock starts having some trouble. Not trouble as in, the stock's not going to keep moving on up. It's more of trouble for the trader to figure out how high is the stock going to move. And that's why after this play, IDXG, we were saying, you know what? I'm not going to get in on this because any single moment this stock can turn around. Did I leave, some money on the table? Absolutely. It went from $8 all the way up towards around $10.25. But after this, guys, after the stock starts getting extended off the trend line, that's when it starts getting very unpredictable. And we start saying, hey, you know what? This can turn around at any moment. You can look for some nice plays here, but you also have to be safe and smart. So the stock starts moving on off. It's off the trend line. I like to think the trend line as gravity, guys. Everything's going to get pulled to it eventually. The trend line is gravity. So you could see the stock move on up, then gets a strong pullback. So that's why, even though this is a huge moneymaker right here, if you buy at the wrong time, you're also going to get crushed. The trend line eventually cracked, and the trend line eventually break. And then what happened, guys? We got into this channel that formed. As you could see right here. We had our high of the day up towards around, we had some nice resistance up towards around 915, and we started forming this this new trend line, which put the stock inside a wedge. Now we talked about U-shaped patterns earlier. Now we're talking about triangles and wedges, guys. Now we're talking about triangles and wedges, and what we have here is IDXG getting squeezed. We talked about you could buy the stock at $8 for the $8 support buy, $8.15. Now, why did we talk about this? Because of the trend line and how strong this trend line looked. Our next alert was all the way up at 955. Now, why did we have 955, guys? Well, 955 was the pure fact, it was right along that area, was the pure fact that this stock was getting squeezed inside this wedge. When the stock gets squeezed, either U-shape or wedges in triangles, this is when it leads to its next leg up, where it went from 955 all the way up to 1268. And I showed you guys some good examples about this before, talking about these channels, guys. And when these channels form, when you build higher lows, you can look at, if we just put, this is a channel, we could get rid of this wedge, and you could see it's the same exact thing. Morning rip inside a channel, break of the channel is where it gets this nice climb, is where the stock gets this nice rip, is where the stock is going to be moving on up and continue to get that nice big climb. Same exact thing. Nice big morning rip, channel, 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 higher low. We have our bottom support. Then our next low is a little higher. Then our next low is a little higher. Next low is a little higher. You could put a support, then our next low is a little higher, then our next low is a little higher, next low is a little higher. You could put a line in here. It would look just like a triangle. Stock getting squeezed, we break out, we get a nice big run. Same exact thing that we have been, focusing on this whole entire time. Again, guys, these are all different plays. You can see, happening over and over again. Low, higher low, triangle being formed, stock gets squeezed after morning spike, and we start moving on up. Same exact thing happens again. Stock, excuse me, guys, stock trading is predictable. And that is why I want you guys studying these patterns. We're kicking off 2017. I just profited just under 2 grand today. First day of the trading session this year, I'm up just under 2 grand today from these predictable plays and these predictable patterns. We want a nice massive climb up here, but then we said, hey, 1250 is most likely going to be the top. 1250 is most likely going to be the top. Now, why is 1250 going to be the top, guys? Well, let's put that line right there at 1250. And if we move over to the daily chart, you could see 1250, right here, right at 1250, guys. This is past chart history resistance. 1250, right here back on December 15th. Upper shadow hits it, couldn't break. Here's a December 14th. Hits 1250, really couldn't break. December 13th, right along that 1250 mark, really couldn't break. Back down towards, or back up towards, let's say December 9th. The lower shadow bounces off 1250, where that stock held up as support. Support's going to hold up as resistance. And even on this day, comes up towards around that 1220 mark, which is still right along that 1250 mark. So it's going to have a lot of trouble breaking through that 1250 mark. So IDXG, massive climb. Look at past chart history pattern, basically predict the market on where that stock's going to be moving. And IDXG right up to 1250, that's when that stock started turning around. And we are currently sitting at around 1170 on the day, up 163% on this massive rip, on this massive climb, it's absolutely beautiful. So we still can be seeing the stock, come on more in the near future. And again, I would not be surprised if we maybe go on a little bit more of a run. We still, if you want to think about it like this, we still have a big wedge right here on the 3-minute chart as the stock has its resistance up near the top. Again, 1250 is its main top, but we do have a big triangle being formed. Look to stick triangles, or look to stick stocks into triangles. Look to make stocks to go into wedges and see if you get these nice big pops and these nice big rips. But IDXG was a beautiful play today. I'm very excited for all the traders who profited. Again, there were some huge profits, $1,000 to $1,000, $5,000 in profits chat today, which I'm very, very happy about, and I get fired up about. I get very excited when I profit, of course, but seeing new traders work their ass off and then become a top trader in profit chat who's locking in $1,000 a day on their first day of 2017 is what gets me going and gets me fired up. And I'm so excited for you guys. I'm so excited for today, and I'm so excited for what the rest of this week and this year is going to bring. It's going to be your best year yet. I'm looking forward to working with you guys as well. So